Welcome back. We are having, as you might expect, a very robust discussion here about the bill passed in the legislature and signed by Governor Scott on school safety. And Melba, you did want to say something. It's not unexpected. The NRA would file a lawsuit challenging raising the age to 21, 3-day waiting period. What chance do they have?
I think it's a losing proposition from the standpoint of, number one, the conservative darling, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia in the Heller case, stated that reasonable restrictions on Second Amendment are constitutional. And if it's linked to public safety, that's the end matter right there. So I don't think they're on solid grounds. They've been beaten twice. The ACLU of Florida beat them in Dox v. Glocks. Mayor Gillum, now gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum, beat them with regards to the ability to shoot guns in public parks. So again, I mean, they're trying to hold these legislators by the throat, saying that if you touch Second Amendment, it's unconstitutional, and that is a false narrative. That is not true.
Jay,
you can be reasonable in your restrictions.
Of all the components of this bill, Jay, why did the National Rifle Association choose this particular one to fight, do you think? I'm not asking you to speak for the NRA, obviously.
Yeah,
Just want your take on it.
This is again going back to what NRA and most of the gun owners feel, that you give an inch, then there's another yard that we'll be looking for. For example, the insatiable hunger. Here's a great bill that has been passed. There's $400 million that has been allocated to mental health. And here we are sitting complaining about what is not in that bill, as opposed to saying, you know what, there's a great progress that we made here in the state. So I think NRA has a good point there, that we will not stop here. We will not stop until we take away the Second Amendment rights of the citizens.
Absolutely not. I can tell you the ACLU will stand in the way of that. Okay? I am a gun owner. I have a family of gun owners, and nobody's taking away guns
even though
altogether.
You think liberal darling that I sometimes may seem to be, I want to take away guns. No, I don't. My dad owns guns, so they've been a part of our lives, my life, for years. But it's responsible ownership. But one thing I want to say about the NRA, I think this is a great exercise for everyone to see that they're on the defensive, because they have been charging ahead. They've taken over. The perception is they've taken over the discussion.
Yes. Marion Hammer, an immensely powerful lobbyist and effective lobbyist in Florida for 40 years.
Exactly. I think it's great that people see a different side of this debate,
well,
this discussion.
If we can, let's talk about one of the positive aspects of this bill, which is there is more than $18 million for an emergency mental health mobile unit to go into schools when there are kids or situations that require, therapy and help for kids. This is terrific. This is a good thing.
I think there's plenty of good things in that bill. I mean, they have allocated, $98 million additional for SROs. They have $87 million to establish Safe Schools program, $69 million for mental health assistance. There's $1,000 for mental health first aid training. They've opened up the ability for I'll finish real quick.
Yeah, of course.
The ability for the cops to be able to take the weapons away from anybody who is threatening to themselves or to somebody else. They have made it much easier.
With good due process. With
and
very
due process
strong due
too.
Process.
Yeah, I mean, So there's lots of great things in this bill. We need to go back to what I was saying last week, and that is, fine, now we have fixed that part. Let's go back to the basics, the root. Linda Cruz was considering buying a gun for this young man who had been telling his counselor that he was having dreams. Yes, he was having dreams where he saw himself drenched in blood of humans.
Thanks to the Miami Herald, which did Carol Marvin Miller, fabulous reporter, did an excellent piece in yesterday's Miami Herald where she somehow got the mental health therapist's notes that were treating Nicholas Cruz. And he did have these violent visions of blood. He wanted a gun. And the therapist kept saying, don't give him the gun. But the mother, I don't know, she's dead, so she can't respond. But she, in fact, did give him a pellet gun.
And that goes...
And
that goes to the heart of parenting.
But not only parenting, there were 10 years of calls to the Broward Sheriff's Office, to DCF. Students from the school were like, he's going to come in and shoot up the school.
But I would not want to vilify parents.
I'm not vilifying parents. No, that's wrong characterization of that. That's complete mischaracterization.
Will look at this situation and say, "Hey, something is wrong." So,
Exactly.
because you brought this up last week about the parents.
Yes.
And
we need
the
to
same
be more
thing happened in
engaged.
Newtown.
We need to know who our kids' friends are. Who are they hanging out with? What are they doing? What their friends are talking about.
Parenting 101.
Parenting 101.
Can
that
we,
needs to happen.
you know what we need to talk about?
Yes.
We need to talk about the race to replace Ileana Ros-Lehtinen,
Oh,
which got
yes.
so interesting this week, did it
Yeah.
It
not?
certainly did.
Very
When we
much
come
so.
back, we'll start right there.
Welcome back live in our studio this morning. We are engaged as you can get, in our roundtable. Let's move on to strictly a great political story, which is this week a political shock, a upheaval when Donna Shalala, former president of the University of Miami, 77 years old, said, "I'm running for Congress for the seat held by Ileana Ros-Lehtinen." Andrea, what was your reaction when you heard Donna Shalala say, "Yes, I'm in, I'm a candidate"?
My first thought, why? And who is putting her up to this? Then my second thought,
There's a reporter for you right there.
well, of course, I have to. Okay, so what's the real story here? And I thought, how is this going to shake up the field? And then I thought about Ken
Russell?
Russell from Coconut Grove,
Miami-
because
Miami
he just
commissioner.
got there and the people love him.
Well, let's put up a slate of just how many Democrats will be running
Yeah.
in this
Yes.
primary. There is Ken Russell, Jose Javier Rodriguez, David Richardson, all of whom are in office right now,
Yeah,
state
Kristen-
office. Mary Barzee Flores, a judge. Kristen Rosen-Gonzalez, Miami Beach Commissioner.
David
Here they are in
Richardson,
our David
yeah.
Richardson, who is a state rep. And then Mark Anthony Person, apparently we need a photo
Yeah,
of.
I think he's affiliated with the University of Miami in
Well,
some kind of way.
let's put it this way, Melba. I think that there are some really outstanding candidates. There's some good Republicans and Democrats, but she has eclipsed all those Democrats instantly. And even if she'll run a good campaign, if she gets 25 or 30%, she becomes the Democratic nominee when you've got 8 people, 7 people in the race.
Right, right. I mean, first thing I wanted to point out, I'm just thrilled that there's so many women running in this race and raising their hand to take the next step into leadership and change the course of our country. But as we've seen in previous elections, as in a la 2016, name recognition does not always guarantee you a victory.
Right.
Jay,
So,
what about the Donna Shalala's work for and ties with the Clintons could be a huge plus for her or a huge minus for her,
I think
depending
I'm
on
sure
the voter.
that's going to come up. Especially now that there's a couple of things that happened this week that have thrown this race into a tizzy. One is the Senate Bill 186.
Resigned to run?
Exactly.
Resigned to
So
run.
that's gonna that will
yeah.
inadvertently clear some of the candidates from that field.
Five?
Yeah.
1,
Five.
2, 3,
And
4,
five
5.
candidates.
Yeah.
5, 4
And-
Democrats and 1 Republican.
And one of the candidates, the Miami Beach commissioner, is doing exactly the wrong thing, threatening to sue the state legislature for that, which is kind of like, okay, well, the whole point of this is that you're not constantly having the taxpayer foot the bill for special elections one after another,
Yeah.
just jumping
Well,
from one
yeah,
seat
I,
to another.
I don't think Kristen Rosen-Gonzalez is going to prevail. I think that one of the big elements in this is, and we don't want to presuppose that even though she has high name recognition, she's necessarily going to be the winner. That would be wrong. We have seen the conventional wisdom proven wrong time after time. But the one element I think is going to be an important factor is her age. She's 77. I asked her about that on Wednesday of this week, and here's what she said. The one area where, frankly, and I say this as a contemporary of yours, where you may be vulnerable is your age.
Absolutely not. And you know why? Because age is a number. My mother played in the National 80s tennis tournament and won it. She practiced law until she was into her 90s, and she passed at 103. I've got great genes.
So there.
God bless her for that.
I mean, that's great and all, but the energy in this day and age, everything is going toward millennials. We need new ideas out here, quite frankly, especially in this region of the country. Things are changing. I'm not sure how much or how fast Ms. Shalala can change and pivot to where things are going right now. I'm not sure it's a great thing for her to be in this race.
Well,
And
the
I
one
don't
thing-
think she is going to prevail in that particular district. I
Really?
don't. No.
Really?
I think other people who have done much more and have name recognition within District 27 will have a better chance.
To your point, it's true. There's about 400 women running this time around in the mid-year election cycle
For
around the
Congress,
country.
congressional seats.
Around the country.
Yes.
And and Democrats are going through a bit of a civil war within the party. I mean, they're going after their own candidates, like Laura Mosier in Texas. That the party is going after their own candidates in a primary, which is kind of interesting. So what I think will happen is that the Republicans have a great shot at retaining the seat if they're able to do the fundraising. There's a couple exciting
Bruno
candidates.
Barrero?
On that note,
Maria Salazar, another
All right,
exciting
Maria
candidate.
Elena Salas.
this is a
That's
race
an
we will
exciting
be
candidate.
covering.
Or
Yes.
Bruno
Yes.
Barrero,
We will be
exciting.
following this one very closely. All right, so everybody,
Thank you.
thank you very much. We're so
Next
glad
up,
you came in.
the
Thanks.
people
you.
we've come to know as the families. They needed a win this week. Did they get one? Stay tuned.